If you've ever been to the Lakeshore Museum Center before, you've probably seen our tracks going down the hallway. These tracks were left by the museum Mastodon, and if you've ever been here with kids before, you've probably seen your kids doing something like this. So what I want to look at today is I want to see if our Mastodon was following museum rules or not. I want to see if he was walking in the museum. Now hang on with me because we are going to have to do some math to figure this out. Now the first step to figuring out if our Mastodon was walking is going to be to measure his footprint. So I've got my tape measure here. Let's see how large our Mastodon's footprint is. And we measure and get about 17 inches, which we're going to have to use metric here for our measurements. So we're going to consider that about 0.45 meters. So we measured our footprint. We found that our Mastodon's footprint was about 0.45 meters. Now to figure out our Mastodon's leg length, what we're going to do is take that 0.45 meters and we're going to multiply it by 4. For most mammals, if you take their foot size and you times it by 4, you get a good approximation of their leg length. So if we do that here, we get about 1.8 meters, or for most of us to understand, it's about 5.9 feet. So let's go measure our Mastodon's leg and see exactly how tall it is. So we know that our Mastodon's leg is going to be about 1.8 meters or 5.9 feet based on our estimate. So let's see how our Mastodon stacks up to that estimate. Now it's hard to tell kind of where his leg ends here and his shoulder begins, but our 5.9 feet is about right here. So your estimate's pretty close to where our Mastodon's leg is going to end up. Now what we need to do is figure out our Mastodon's stride length. Now what scientists have figured out is that Mastodons will actually walk their front feet and their back feet landing in the same spot. So this would be the front foot and then the back foot on the same side, but it also lands in the exact same spot. So to get our stride, we're going to measure from one track on the same side to the next track. And if I do that, we're going to get that our Mastodon's stride is about 9 foot and 3 inches, or about 2.84 meters. So now we need to figure out our relative stride length for our Mastodon. This takes into account different leg angles and potentially different heights of legs and hip height. So to figure that out, we're going to take our 1.8 meters leg height and we're going to divide that by 2.84, which is a number from this measurement, and that is going to give us 1.58 meters for our relative stride length of our Mastodon. Now that we have that number, what we can figure out is something called dimensionless speed. So this takes into account 0 dimensions. So it could be going up, down, sideways, backwards. It doesn't really matter. Dimensionless speed accounts for all of that. So to figure that out, what we're going to do is they're going to take another formula. So our ds here, or dimensionless speed, is going to equal our 1.58 that we found minus 1 divided by 1.1. So we take our 1.58 minus 1, that gives us 0.58, divide that by 1.1, and we're going to get a 0.53 meters for our dimensionless speed. So what this means is because this number is lower than 0.7, it means that our Mastodon was following the rules and it was walking in the museum. If this number is 0.7 or higher, it means that our Mastodon was trotting until you get to about a 1. So if you got a 1 there, it would mean that our Mastodon was running in the museum. So you can see at least our Mastodon was walking. Now to figure out its absolute speed, we're going to have to do a little more math. Now to measure our speed of our Mastodon, to get our absolute speed, we're going to use this formula here. So speed is going to equal our 1.8 meters leg length times gravity, which is a constant, 9.8 meters per second squared. We're going to take the square root of that and multiply it by our dimensionless speed, which is our 0.53 meters here. So if we do the math here, we're going to get an answer of 2.23 meters per second. So So this is the speed of our Mastodon. Now to figure that out in miles per hour, we can do a lot of extra math. Or we could just take a little shortcut here and Google it on our phone. And it's going to give us an answer of 4.98 miles per hour. So not too fast. The average human's about 3.1 miles per hour. The average elephant is about 4.6 miles per hour. So our Mastodon is right within the range. So now we know how fast our Mastodon can walk. If we want to try to walk as fast as our Mastodon in the museum, we need to measure how far our Mastodon went down the hallway at that speed to see how fast we would need to get down this hallway. So I'm going to need to measure our long hallway using my short tape measure. We're going to length about 27.7 meters. So our hallway is about 27.7 meters long, and if we divide that by 2.23 meters of our Mastodon stride, that means that we need to be walking down the hallway in about 12.4 seconds to be walking as fast as a Mastodon. So that's pretty quick in this hallway, but our Mastodon is still walking. So next time you come to the museum, why don't you try and take our Mastodon challenge, see if you can get down the hallway in 12.4 seconds, but make sure you're walking. Even Mastodons walk in the museum.